Hello and good morning.
Hello.
How are ya?
I'm okay. How are you?
I am here. It is Monday and I am here. That is a good start, right? We've got Michelle. Who else is here? Drop in the chat your name and let us know who you are. We can't see who you're. We just see that people are here. So let us know. Let us know. Yeah, it's Monday. It's kind of gloomy here. So I'm really looking forward for our conversation today. Yeah. So let's get in. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to Mindset Monday. Where independent patient advocates like us come together to start the week with positivity and inspiration. My name is Nicole Broadhurst, and I'm here with my co-host, Kayla Thompson-Riviere. And today we're focusing on perspective, empathy, and compassion. And we have a really powerful quote to guide us through this new week of advocacy. Let's dive in and get inspired. I don't know about you, but I need it this morning. So
I'm
Kayla,
sure
what's the quote today?
Yep, this we have an unknown source, and I'm sure it's one that we are probably all familiar with, but still a great reminder. Walk a mile in my shoes before you judge me.
Hey, right. I don't know, Kayla. I just want to say, how about walk a mile in my shoes, period? Like, why do we have to add the judge at the end? Right?
Yeah. Well, I think
it's know.
Well, judgment is just so that's one of those things, we talk about the difference between reacting and the kind of primal brain or the lizard brain, and then the opposite of that being intentional and mindful. So judgment is one of the pieces of the reactant primal brain. Like, nobody has to tell you to be judgy. Like, it just comes out, right? So I think that's why it gets tied into this, is it's, kind of a reminder to stop, pause before you react, so that you can have that space for mindfulness. And in that space is where we get the reflection, and the empathy has room to come in.
Thank you so much, because I'm feeling a little bit judgy this morning.
Well, maybe it's a good thing you put this quote up.
I know, right? That's what I said. I'm really looking for. I was literally sitting at the table, writing in my planner and thinking, is it 8 yet? It's 8 o'clock.
Oh no. I don't know if we lost Nicole. Yeah. Oh, there you are. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's me or you, but at some point it was 8 o'clock. You were looking at your watch and then it froze there. Or it did for me anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying I was really looking forward to this conversation today.
Yeah, we can judge your internet provider, though. That's fine.
Yeah, right. That wouldn't be harmful, right? We could do that. I love that. Let's do that. I don't even. Oh, it's AT&T. Yeah, let's definitely judge AT&T.
Okay. I'm just going to assume it's you because I'm hardwired. So
yeah. So in this apartment, I can only be hardwired in one location because the hardwire only comes into the apartment in one place, and it's the living room.
You can run your own. It's really easy. Side note.
So wouldn't it have to be on the floor, right, or on the ceiling, or because I can't.
They make the little covers that you can just put along like the baseboard, so you don't really see it.
Well, that would really been nice like a year ago to know that, but anyway,
you didn't ask.
Anyway.
For anybody else having internet issues,
I know, right?
But tell me where this is coming from for you with this judgment. What's going on?
We're think do a live dissection. Yeah, I think I'm tired today. I was up later than I wanted to be last night. I'm grateful that I was. Like, it was I just waited too long yesterday to prep for today, is what happened. And so then I was up a little bit later, and I did.
Yeah, you guys, she was emailing me at like midnight for this studio link.
Right. So, I mean, anyway, I just think I'm tired. And I don't know about you, but when I'm hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, I tend to have issues with my mindset.
Yeah, so that's a great reflection. When our cup is empty in one of the very primal needs, then our mind is automatically going to shift into that primal mode, because you have a basic need that's being unmet, and that becomes top of the list of priorities. And it ties in with that concept of you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't be your best self if you literally don't have the pieces that your body requires to function. Like a starving dog is going to bite you no matter how nice they would be. You know what I mean? Like,
right, I do.
So that was a great reflection, and you hit the nail right on the head. It all goes back to, like, you have to take care of yourself, that radical self-care that we talk about. Yes. If you're going to be any good to anybody else. So go to bed tonight, Nicole.
Oh, don't worry.
We need
it's already on my, when I was on my planner, like my day is over about 1:00 today for that very purpose. Cause I'm like, I don't need to be like, cause you know what? I don't know, you guys, like well, and this isn't the topic, walk a mile in my shoes before you judge me. So I guess we can kind of use this as a flip, right? So if I am short today, just know there's a backstory, right? There's always more happening than what we can see.
Well, so and I think that is the point of this quote is, it's not about you being short today. It's about whenever we encounter anybody who is having that reactive, you think like dog in a corner kind of mode. There's a reason, there's a backstory. It's clearly there. Very few people are intentionally trying to act that way. There's some fundamental needs or rights are being either needs not met, rights being violated, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's our, especially in our work as advocates, it's our responsibility to get curious without judgment about what's going on for that person. And I like to approach it from a place of, maybe oftentimes people don't even realize what's going on with them to send them in a tailspin. They're just along for the ride and clawing at whoever is nearby. But I think sometimes if we can, kindly shine a light on that and then help them to meet those needs, sometimes it's as simple as they haven't eaten, they haven't drank, especially if it is in the setting of, healthcare. And if there's some kind of crisis going on, if they're in the hospital because something's going on with mom, they probably haven't slept. They probably haven't ate, not to mention they're stressed out about, what's going to happen to their loved one. And then the smallest thing goes out of line and they fly off the handle. And it's like, well, yes, of course they did. Look at what happened.
Right. I follow a guy on one of the social medias. Please don't ask which, because I stink in that area. It's probably Facebook, though. And his name is Jefferson Fisher. And he's an attorney who is giving really neat tips and tricks on communication. And as you were talking, I was thinking, oh, yeah, Jefferson Fisher always says that when somebody is short or rude or, not quite right, the best thing we can do is just ask them, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like literally, not in a sarcastic way, but in a genuine, hey, are you okay? This isn't how you usually interact with me or with people. And I'm concerned. Are you okay? So I love that. It's easy, it's short, it's, diffusing, it's it has a lot of power in a very, very short question. Might be surprised. Yeah. You asked me and I was like, yeah, I'm tired. I knew right away. And if people don't know, then it does give them pause to try and, and I will go back to, as an advocate, a lot of this stuff is, I think the biggest challenge is the the timing of all of this, right? Things happen quickly in our work and with our clients and in the world of healthcare. And, being able to execute these strategies instantaneously, right? Like deploy them in the moment, at the right time, in the right situation. And I think that is what these conversations are about, right? Trying to get it's like exercise. We exercise the muscle before we need it, so that when we need it, it's there and ready and able to do the work. And I feel like that's what these Monday calls are too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love what you said too about it being judgy, being like the first primal thing. Because it really is. I automatically think it's the world, as a human. That's what I think. It can't be me. It can't be my stuff, when in reality, most of the time it is. And I got to do work around that. I'm just jumping over here to check and see what some of my notes say here. These backstory, I kind of want to talk about the backstory a little bit more.
Sure.
Just because I think even in my work with clients, sometimes they aren't as forthcoming with their full backstory. And I think that's something that can cause us some stress in our work anyway. And in life, when people don't share their full backstory. However, that can be challenging. And so again, the empathy for, understanding that everybody isn't ready or able to share their full backstory, so that you just have full transparency into who they are, because that's really vulnerable and that's a scary place to be. And it takes a lot of trust and confidence, which are some things that we talk about a lot here in developing in our relationships. What do you think about that?
Yeah. You've pointed out before, I have this unique ability to be able to build that trust with people quickly and make those connections. And sometimes I get more than I'm even asking for or wanting. I'm like, okay, it's happening again.
Right.
But I think part of the reason is I create an atmosphere of no walls and barriers, and I truly am looking to, I enjoy connecting with people on a deep emotional level and helping them with whatever, I can perceive that wound or that pain is. And I think people sense that even before they know it.
Yes.
So there, all of that to say that I might not be the best person to chime in on this, because I don't typically encounter barriers in that area. However, the few times that I do, I'm open and forthcoming before I ever ask that of other people. Maybe that's part of why I get to where I do.
Yeah,
like,
so
if you want somebody to share, you've got to share, I guess, maybe.
Right.
But I tell people, there's been a few instances. I had one client in particular is coming to mind who had a lot of, medical gaslighting and PTSD and trauma and da-da-da-da-da. And she was very private about her situation. And I just told her, I was like, I really want to help you. It's clear that you need help. That's why you're seeking it out. And the more that you can share, then the more that I can help you. And I know that that's what we both want. And that really helped her to open up more and be a little bit more freeing. And there's a couple of pieces to that. Number one, I brought it all the way down to my intention, which is pure and good, to re-solidify to her that, yes, like I'm really just trying to help you. And then I try to identify what the barrier is for people, and then see how I can remove it or how we can step around it. Like, is it a privacy concern, I'll reiterate how I'm so familiar with HIPAA. My background is as a nurse, and that's exactly why I had you sign that HIPAA disclosure form, because I'm attesting in a legal document your information. I think that helps to put some of those fears aside. So being able to recognize where people are getting stuck and not put any shame or judgment around that, and acknowledging it, like, yes, that is a valid concern, and here's what I'm doing to address it, helps to get it out of the way completely. And that's just that one example, but I think you can see how that framework can be applied in other situations.
Sure. It really boils down to empathy really is at the core of effective communication, right? Not just like, oh, I feel sorry, right? But literally putting ourselves in that person's shoes. And Kayla, I want to circle back to the whole building trust in a short period of time. I would be really interested to hear from other folks if this is a common theme among those of us that provide this service. I'm just wondering if it's a natural skill set that a lot of us have, or if, because I too, Kayla, I don't know. I also have that special gift, and often wonder, oh my gosh, you just met me. Why are you telling me? But at the same time, I get it. But it goes back to this core communication skill of empathy, right? Because I think what you just explained was that you literally put yourself in that client's shoes. How would I feel if this was happening to me? And how would I want to be reassured? What would I need to hear to feel more forthcoming and share more information? And it's really interesting. I would love to chat with someone who has refined that process. And I only say that because like Kayla, I do it, but I haven't been able to narrow in on exactly what I'm doing, if that makes sense. And so if it's not a natural skill set for you and you have been able to identify the process, I would love to hear from you. I think that would be fascinating to learn more about that entire thing. Yeah. And I made a note here that, remember, it's not just feeling sorry. And if you find yourself just feeling sorry for someone, they're probably not your client, your friend, your person, your people, right? Because that is not helpful. It's only helpful when we can really empathize.
It's interesting. I think part of empathy is actually like that feeling sorry. To me, that's a barrier. Like, okay, that's kind of an automatic emotional response that's not helpful. So let's just pick that up and put that over there. Because if you can't feel sorry, the next thing that comes is judgment. Like that is just one step above. I think I'll share another example. During my time as an ER nurse, one day we had, for those who don't know, whenever an ambulance is coming to the hospital with a patient, they radio into the ER to give them a rundown of what's going on. Sometimes it's just, hey, this is what's going on, and it's a very stable transport and they don't need anything. Sometimes they've got to talk to the doc and get orders for stuff that can't wait until the hospital. So we had this radio goes off. I mean, there's always ambulances arriving. It's a very constant thing. And the radio went off, and charge nurse was taking report on what was coming in. And it was a young woman, I think she was like early 20s, in active labor, and who had called for the ambulance to bring her to the hospital. And there was quite a few murmurs at the nurses station of like, oh my God, there's another one, wasting resources because there's only so many ambulances. And going into labor is not exactly a medical emergency. Most people have private transport to get to the hospital, somebody with them. Some people plan at home because they're crazy like that. That's me. All of that to say, you typically don't need to be taking the resources of an ambulance. And in the setting of healthcare, where resources are scarce and healthcare workers see them misused all the time, it's very common for there to be frustration over those misuse, especially when it puts other potential people in jeopardy. So here I am using my empathy. I can understand exactly why the people around me are getting frustrated, because I see those concerns in the system. But what I chose to say out loud, because they mentioned in the report that the woman was by herself, I was like, wow, how scary must it be to be completely alone when you're having a child and have no way to even get to the hospital. Right. And everybody just stopped. And the doc looked at me and she was like, that is an incredible way to look at this situation. And it just, it wasn't even like the ER doesn't even deal with her. Like she just goes upstairs, you know, but it was a great moment that to like cause everybody to pause, and it almost like held up a mirror to their own judgment. Yes. Like, sure, I could sit and stew about how this is a misappropriation of resources, but like, let's be honest, it probably wasn't that woman's first choice either.
Right.
So how I feel for her. Like that must be such a scary situation. I've had a baby. I can't imagine having to go through that without my husband. It takes two to make a baby. It takes two to get that baby out. Let me tell you.
I agree with that for sure. I think you hit it on the head. And I love the idea of holding the mirror up. I think that is a beautiful, even if I'm holding it up to myself, right? It's really interesting because when I get out of alignment with my mindset, when my mindset is like not in a good place, I feel it in my body. Mm-hmm. Like it's kind of one of those things where it feels uncomfortable. I don't know how to describe that other than I can icky. Feel it. It does feel icky. It does feel icky. And I'm so grateful for that. I think, honestly, you know what I think it is? I think that doing this mindset work has helped me become so much more aware and in tune. And so, like this morning when I'm feeling really icky and it's easier for me to go, okay, pause. What's going on with me? Right? What's happening with me that's creating this discomfort, this dissension, this sometimes judgy, what is that? And let's get real about that so that I say we, because there's all kinds of me in here. I'm just being real. But figuring out what it is about me that is creating this so that I can fix it, because that's the truth. When the problem is in me, I have the ability to fix it. I have the ability to change. I can rearrange my schedule and be done at 1:00 so that I can go lay on the couch and take a nap and restore my body, or take a longer walk, or whatever it is that I need to do so that I can get back into alignment, because being out of alignment is very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So, and a couple things came up for me with that train of thought just now. Number one, if what Nicole is saying you don't go, oh yeah, I understand that 100% completely. Go back a few episodes. We talked about some strategies for strengthening the mind-body connection, because the more you work on that fundamental connection, which it's innate in everybody, but it's like a very delicate garden. If you don't give it care and attention, it will always just stop at potential, and it won't actually grow and blossom. So go back to that episode and start to put in place some of those practices. Start with just one, whatever one's calling your attention the most, to strengthen that mind-body connection, because I also identify with what Nicole's saying. The more that I have gotten into this awareness and mindfulness and learning how to regulate my nervous system and be in intentional control of my responses instead of just the automatic, primal brain taking over. The more that I've been able to do that and learn that and grow that, the more uncomfortable being out of that alignment feels. Kind of a double-edged sword.
Right.
But also the other thing that came up for me is, when we're talking about empathy, I think it's important for us, especially in our work as advocates, to remember that this place of mindfulness and empathy and everything else we talked about today, this is not the default mode for humans. Mm-hmm. And I think even today, I feel that there's a growing awareness around these topics. However, I don't think it's the norm yet. And I think it's safe to assume that the majority of people you're interacting with in your work don't have this level of awareness and therefore are more apt to be operating in that default primal mode. So they may have unmet needs that they don't even have awareness around. Oh, gosh, and that can be one of our superpowers. And that goes right back to what Nicole was saying a few minutes ago, like hey, are you okay? I personally, there is power in a nice short statement. To me, I don't think that that's one of them, because hey, are you okay is so overused that it tends to be an automatic filler, which prompts an automatic response for people to say, yeah, I'm fine. And then you knocked on the door, they opened it and said, I don't want any cookies, and shut the door. So for me, I like to go around to the side door instead and bring up a little observation. Again, an observation without judgment. Maybe it's, I'm hearing you sigh and your face is in your hands. You seem to me like you're upset about something or you're tired. If it's a situation, I think back to my days in ICU. It's usually pretty safe to assume that that's a stressful event for people and their families. Pretty safe. Intensive on many levels. But I would often start out conversations that way with the family. I'm Kayla, I'm your nurse today, like, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. This has to be so hard. Yeah. Have you eaten today? Have you slept? Right. Have you, I start going into those things, because a lot of times, when our clients, potential clients, people we're interacting with are in the thick of craziness of life in general. It doesn't have to be as intense as intensive care. But so often people get caught up in the whirlwind cycle that they're not even taking that pause, or it's not even registering that, oh yeah, I haven't eaten today. How many times has that happened to you? You get so caught up in what you're doing. You're like, oh, I forgot to eat. I don't know. That happens to me.
Yeah. Well, it happens to me too.
But it happens to me. It has to happen to other people.
Yes.
But we'll show outward signs often before we recognize internally that we have that unmet need. So that's where in our work as advocates who have a little bit more awareness around this mindfulness, leverage that as a great tool to make some observations without judgment to help connect the dots for someone and get them to meeting their need.
I love that, Kayla, which really leads right into the last thing I wanted to make sure we didn't forget to talk about, is the opportunity that this gives us to be true leaders in our world, right? Because when we are in this good mindset and we are able to execute and deploy some of these strategies and help other people navigate their chaos, their situations, it really positions us as true leaders when we're demonstrating how to do this, right? And remember, nobody remembers. How's the experience from Walt Disney? I wish I had the quote, but anyway, it's about nobody remembers what you did. They remember how you made them feel.
Oh, that's not Walt Disney. That's
who is that?
I want to say Maya Angelou.
I don't remember, but there's
regardless,
maybe we'll get to it. Running out of time, but it's all about how people feel when they're interacting with you. And when we lead from this place of empathy and we're able to help people navigate some of this stuff that they're not aware of, it really builds and demonstrates a better way to live, a better way to communicate, a better way to interact with people. And of course, it's the real world. So some days I get it right and do good, and sometimes I really mess it up. It depends.
No, without judgment. Sometimes you uncover a learning opportunity.
There we go. So this week, I think that leads me into my challenge. What I would like to hear is I'd like to hear, where are you going to try and practice walking in someone else's shoes a little bit more? I'm going to think it's pretty safe to say that most of us try to do this pretty regularly. But this mindset work that we're working on and the things that we're doing mean we're bringing even more awareness. So this week, we're going to kind of focus with intentionality. Ooh, another pillar. With intentionality, how we are walking in other people's shoes. And so,
and I encourage you to take the emotion off, put it on pause, so that you can actually get really curious about what the issues, barriers, and unmet needs are, and then how we can address them. That's really how we can serve people.
I love this.
And not before you judge me. Just don't judge.
Like, I know, right? I know. I just want to drop the end of that thing there. Just walk
a mile in my shoes and then rub my feet.
Be nice. Right. I love that. So, all right. Well, that's a wrap for today's Mindset Monday. We are so grateful for this community of independent patient advocates. We hope today's quote on empathy and compassion empowers you in your work and your personal life this week. Be sure to share how you're applying it in your practice and your life. And we'll see you next Monday for more inspiration. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. It's taken for